Well, I wanted to spend a little more time and walk you through where we are, as I think I've ended up with a fairly perfect fit. If you can see the edges of the gray component near the front, near the flywheel, there's a notch that's been molded in to get around the inner edges of the cast metal. There's a gap between the plate and the flywheel. The bolts are countersunk, and I had to use a longer bolt than I wanted to in order to get enough grip in the plastic. So I'm going to have to make some changes on the back side, but this is how it would fit. I put a little block on the corners to stop the unit at the proper point, and then I put some nubs, which you may not be able to see here, but there's a little nub on top that sort of locks it in place. So it's really captured right there, like it's snap fit of plastic parts into another plastic part. Those are the two pieces. The finish on the firewall, the back plate, is rough because it was printed face down on my printer. These units will come to us in the production run through a different process, and they won't have any of the lines, and they won't have any of the what appears to be a rough edges and surfaces. They will be a smooth, somewhat rough, but consistently smooth black plastic shape. I had to put the screws through the plastic, so what I'm going to do is bring up a little shelf that runs across the bottom that gives us the depth I need for the bolts, but I'm going to try to keep it as thin as I can so it doesn't stick out into the area. I may put in some circles up in the upper part of the firebox that we could put in a decal of a steam pressure gauge, and then after the fact I usually drill and form some brass tubing and stick it around so it looks like tubing running in and out, and also some small knobs that are always present in these firewall configurations. I still don't have a good space for a man. There's just not enough room to get. The person I have is actually oversized, so I've got to get an HO or a smaller person if I want to do that. I may just leave that up to you to add that detail. This is not your engine, it's one of the old ones. I think it's the one you sent me, the body. I'm using the body and the chassis from another, and on and on. I'm not going to use these screw holes outside. I'm not going to put the cabling up where it normally would be. I want to have an open view of everything down here. The three slots that you see are for the very tiny LED lamps. They are actually a 1 millimeter by 2 millimeter rectangle. I'll thread them through those holes, pull them tight, glue them in place, and then slip the glass lens over them, and then muddle the glass, it's not glass, plastic, the surface, so that it diffuses all of the light source. So it'll be a glow, but it won't be a pinpoint. And it will be black. And there is a surface there of sorts that you can see where they would step in and back. A little bit of a step, but I couldn't make it perfect. I didn't really want to, and there's variances in the engine, but I think this is a pretty thin back plate, and I'm okay with that. I had it down further, and that was too deep. From the side, you'll see into the firebox. It does protrude in a little bit more than I would like, but that's the best I could do. I couldn't. We got too much crap back here. This connector for this Mike's Train House is fairly hefty. A lot of cabling in there, and it took a lot of space. But I feel comfortable with the routing. I've got everything coming through. The other thing I had to fuss with was the screw that holds on the steam chest was too long. This being the steam chest. Oh yeah, I cut my finger, don't worry about it. And the screw that holds it in was sticking down up where my thumb is. It was sticking down and hitting the smoke box, so I had to get a different screw, but it's I have plenty of these. They're stainless steel, round, flat thing, and the same threads and everything, but just they are the better length, a little shorter. So I'm going to put a new screw in that. Everything else is going to be pretty standard. I'll put the smoke in. Now this I feel is close enough that I can move on to the tender and start worrying about how I'm going to route this semi-ugly cable up into the tender, making some modifications to the base. I flipped the, as you can see, the rear truck pivots with this stop to the rear, or in the middle of the middle, and the front one pivoted towards the front. But I flipped it over. I put some holes in here, moved it on the other side, so now it rotates like this. I just have to make sure I keep my wiring straight. And what I'm going to do is, there's a little piece of plastic in here. You see those two holes? I can cut that plastic off. There we are. I can cut that plastic off right there, and there's enough room for that cable to come sliding in. Get a focus here. There we are. The cable can come sliding in like this. I had another piece of plastic, I showed this earlier, but at any rate, it will slide in, and at that opening here, I'm going to make a part that is going to screw down from the top. Pencil's broken. There's another one. And my thinking is I'm going to have a part, where am I? Okay, something like this. Something like this that will fit on the bottom of the piece. It'll be much tighter than that. Okay, it'll be way up here. And my cable, the other end of this, is going to thread through from underneath. This is where the connection is to the engine. Over here's the drawbar. So the cable's going to come in. It's going to pick up this plastic piece here, and it's going to be routed up like this. And there's the attachment. Where am I? Okay, there's the attachment screw. I'm going to have a screw coming down, threaded into that, and the cable's going to come up here, and then it's going to continue out, and everything is going to thread into the controller system. So you're going to have a bit of wad of cable, because it's built for the Lionel, and of course those are longer engines. I don't like to cut and shorten the wire, but I will tidy it up so it doesn't look obscene, like a rat's nest. They'll be coiled and tie wrapped together, and it'll be neat, but it's just not going to be too bad, I don't think. In any case, that's what I'm working on now, is to get this thing so that we can route this together. I've got to determine the length of the drawbar and the attachments, and making sure I'm running underneath it without any risk. And this opportunity here, bringing it in at this point, and then having the connector so far forward, that's going to give us a lot of length of this cable. It's very flexible. It's a lot better than I had my first engine. So I'm confident from here to here, when we make those tight turns, everything is going to be able to go, and it'll flex, and it'll be able to make those turns for you. That's the challenge, is making sure you're not lifting any of these wheels when it makes those rotations. Okay, well, this is where it's at. Wanted you to kind of get a sense. I know I've been going through a few iterations, and I keep changing things on you and whatnot, but I think we're pretty close now. It's just a matter of detailing. And meantime, I'm going on to the other end of the cabling aspect. This is really the hardest part. It really is the hardest part. Once we're done with this and it's operational, when we put these things back together, I won't be too far away from putting power to everything and testing the functions, the sound, the smoke, the lights, and then it'll get a lot more exciting. And meanwhile, I'll be adding the fiber optics, through the lighting that we have and giving you all those extra bits. That'll be coming in another week or two. All right, there you go. Big dump. Wanted you to understand this firewall thing, because I know it looks like, what the hell, he's doing this before and it takes him forever. Well, kind of. Okay, later.